Welcome to Uncle's Channel. Thanks for watching today. And we have a very special book to go through today. We have the Dark Souls Trilogy Compendium, and I am extraordinarily excited to go through this. It came out like maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and I tried to pre-order it back then, and something happened with the pre-order. I don't remember if it like took too long. For some reason it got taken out of the cart on Amazon. I don't know, but for some reason I didn't get the original issue of this. And then it like shot up in prices on eBay, like $600-700 for this book. Finally, Future Press decided to do a re-release of it for their 25th anniversary, and we're going to go through every single page today, review the entire book, and just look at it in a really in-depth look through here. But if you never had a Future Press book, by all means, go out there, get this trilogy, find the Elden Ring books that are out there already, because like if you don't get them almost immediately, they discontinue, they stop publishing them, and prices always skyrocket. And so don't miss out on your opportunity. And also the Bloodborne one is getting re-released at some point soon as well. But let's go ahead and get started on going through every single page of the Dark Souls Trilogy Compendium. All right, so first off, it does come with a book cover, and the slipcover here is excellent quality, very hardy here. And the coloring is different on the cover versus the actual cover of the book. And you can see here it's all in gold for the slipcover and in individual colors for each individual game on the actual cover. And I don't know which one I like better. I probably would go for, man, I don't know. I'm going to call it equal for that. Then we also have a little slip here that's attached to the back, which told basically what you're going to get inside of the package here. And the only thing that looks sort of new for the limited edition is the bonus art prints. And I'm sure they're included in the back of the book here, but this is my first time going through the book, so we will explore all of that together. And so let's go ahead and get into the actual book here. Now, when you open it up, it does say down here in the bottom left-hand corner, Future Press 25th Anniversary Limited Edition, which lets us know we're going through the reprint here instead of the original compendium, which is, just fine since we weren't able to get our hands on the original one here. Then it says, welcome to the Dark Souls Trilogy Compendium, and it gives sort of a history of what this book is about. Solaire off to the side. And if at any point you want to slow the video down or pause it and zoom in on any of the text or images, feel free to do that. This video is captured in 4K quality, so it is the best quality I can possibly give you with my camera anyway for this particular book. We continue on here. We have the table of contents. This has the overall chapters. There's going to be chapters broken down into little subsections. But it starts off the story of Dark Souls, then goes through every game individual, and following that, equipments and items, enemies and bosses. And truth be told, I am probably most excited to go through the area of Dark Souls 2. There's something about the lore of that game and some of the environments that, I don't know, I just truly do, I just love that game. But, everybody has their favorite game in the series, and I'm not even sure if Dark Souls 2 is my favorite. I just simply really do enjoy it, and I'm looking forward to that section. Chapter 1, the story of Dark Souls, and it's basically going to go through here sort of the overarching story of the series itself. And the book breaks it down in a really cool way. So they go through and they give you a story of the background, sort of the lore, and any items or any bosses or any areas that are mentioned, they put a little number here, like a footnote, and they come down here and you can read about every single thing that's mentioned in this particular story. So you can sort of dive deeper into the lore and still explore it on your own a little bit. And of course, we have Gwyn over here with his classic lightning pose. Excellent little rendition here. We got the crow down here from the very beginning of the game. And of course, it's going through, the basics of, the story of the game. Some of this is explained in the opening cinematic, but obviously a lot of this is hidden in the lore, and this sort of helps break down exactly where that lore comes into play, so you can piece the story together based upon the items and the item descriptions. A great way to really break down the lore and sort of give people the full picture of what this game truly is all about. Continuing down through here, we have the Chosen Undead, which is going to be us at the start of the game. All this is taken from the cutscenes, but like I said, it explains the lore through the items. We have Dark Souls 2 over here, and once again, it explains the overarching story, as well as exactly where they're pulling that information from. Because it is, as you know, every Dark Souls game is going to have lore scattered all about through the game, and this just really breaks it down to a story, and then pulls in all of the item lore as you go. Man, these scenes from Dark Souls 2, like, it's just such beautiful landscapes in Dark Souls 2. Even like the dreary, saddening ones are still beautiful in their own way. Continuing on here, before we get into Dark Souls 3, just a little bit more information about the second game. Dark Souls 3 over here, continuing on. Just such great detail is put into every single one of these books, and I cannot think of, I know I mentioned a couple times, there is not a better way to do the lore for these games than to give you every bit of information from the items and the souls and such as that you would collect inside the game. This is just, bar none, the best way to go about giving you the story of these games. And of course, these are universal concepts, sort of things that unite all three stories together. And, we have like Manas, the Abyss, Fragments of the Dark, all that's included in here, Arcorius over here of the Abyss, things that sort of unite the three games together. And I know Dark Souls 2 is somewhat on its own little island out there, but there are still some things, the Dark Lurker down here, unite all of the games together. And of course, we continue on the Age of Fire, Dark, and the First Flame, and the linking of the flame, diving more into the actual detail of them. Bonfires over here, what every individual bonfire is like, items that are affected by the bonfire, the different covenants that you can join, the history of the covenants, where some of the guides that you can get from these games, they often just simply go into like how to join the covenants, different steps. This is the history of the individual covenants and actually the lore behind them. And it's very different than just simply being a guide for the game, because it is not just simply a guide to the game. If you were going to use this as a guide, I feel like you might be a little bit disappointed. But if you're looking for lore, information, expansion, this is 100% the book for you. The Dark Side, Hollowing, and the Undead Curse. Once again, pulling in all three of the individual games here. And look at the quality of like every single image that they captured. Wonderful detail, wonderful poses. And then the overall landscapes that they captured. Man, like these books they're truly just the best books like imaginable. The deities inside the game. Every item that you would get from the deities or things that lead toward the deities. The dragons in the game. This one has always cracked me up. Like when you can basically convert yourself being over into a dragon. I don't know. It just doesn't look like a dragon. Looks like something from like a X-Men game or something from back in the day. Oh man, the gaping dragon down here. The ancient dragon. There's something about the ancient dragon. It's just such a marvelous pose right there. Continuing on here. Oh, that's the one, second game. What was his name? The one in the DLC. You can comment down below. I'm sure it's listed in here, but I'm not going to slow it down too much for it. Man, the dragon inside the game have such interesting lore, and to see them all brought to life here, excellent. The Flame of Chaos and the Demons. All right, so now we're getting into mainly Dark Souls 1 here, but even some of the Flames of Chaos, they link over into Dark Souls 2, like the Lost Sinner and things like that. It's just a bit of a different storytelling for it. All right, the Land Beyond. Look at the paintings for all of these. They're just such amazing quality, and I really hope the prints that we get at the end really bring that to life even more. Of course, we have Solaire over here when it comes to where you very first encounter him inside the game. I tell you, there's nothing that makes you want to play these games again like going through these individual books. They really do just like break down things so much to make you want to get back into the game all over again. Now we got a whole chapter dedicated to the different souls inside the game. And so all the souls that you're going to collect, all the people that have interactions with the souls, everything broken down. I guess it was only one little page for souls. Maybe not every soul broken down. I may have misspoken on that. And so now we're heading off into chapter 2 here, into Lordrum. And so this is going to break down all of the areas in Dark Souls 1. Gives you an entire map based upon it, a little history of the area, and then every important item in the area. So you could use this a little bit as a guide, but it's really just maps with a little bit of history, so you sort of know like the areas that you are looking at as you travel through here. Undead Parish. And Dark Souls 1, as anyone who's watching this video already knows, Dark Souls 1 was a masterclass in how to unite all these areas together and make a game that truly just, was seamless in its traversal. Blighttown. I think everyone hates Blighttown. The Great Hollow and Ash Lake. I was actually on my third playthrough of Dark Souls before I discovered that area. I wasn't using a guide or anything. And when I found that area, I was actually on a vacation. I was up in Baltimore and I was playing on Nintendo Switch, and I discovered, and I was like, holy cow, an entire area that I had no idea existed in the game. And it makes you realize just like how rich the games are, that you can play through the game multiple times and still discover new things every single playthrough. And I am well aware that if you use a guide, you'll find most of it. But even then, there's still a few little things that you'll discover that you just simply didn't know about. An Orlando. Man, I remember the very first time seeing an Orlando. When you get there, just such a beautiful, bright city. And then, of course, when you can darken the city out. Oh, yes, the painted world. That was also something I didn't discover on my first playthrough. Fantastic to find that one inside the game. Dark Root Garden in the Valley of Drake. So I wonder if we're going to go through the DLC on here as well. I didn't really check that. The New Londo Ruins. Man, what a haunting location in the game. The Duke's Archives and Crystal Cave. This was a fairly tough area inside the game. I do remember that as far as my experience. Catacombs, I tell you, I had a buddy, when he loaded the game up, the Catacombs was where he went first, and he got demolished inside the game. Tomb of the Giants, also an area that you would get demolished if you don't have the right equipment, because you can't see anything. I mean, right there represents like your sight pretty well, unless you have the appropriate items equipped. The Demon Ruins, and look over here, you can just see the hellscape inside there. Holy cow. Lost Islip, Kiln of the First Flame. I tell you, just looking at the maps makes you want to play all over again. All right, here we go. We are now inside the DLC, so we're getting to actually see what the maps look like for that. Oh man, the Abyss. Now, when you go down into the Abyss, a map would be somewhat helpful for that, because you can get lost very, very easily. Oh my gosh, guys, this is the dialogue from every character inside the game, and not just like when you talk to them once the first time. What happens if you say yes, no, yes, and goes through every single dialogue for every single character, even like the little merchants and whatnot. You got Gwendolyn up here, man. Everybody as you go. I'm telling you, like, if you just simply want to explore the lore in the game and you want to make some videos about lore, understanding everything, this is the ultimate place to go for all of that. I wish they'd make a Elden Ring book like this. And I don't know, the Bloodborne book, I don't believe it had that. I would love to see them do every one of their games where you can truly go through all the lore. Just look at this. The amount of detail that they went through to craft the storyline for these games, the lore for the games. I mean, like, it's just bar none. All right, guys, we're heading into Dark Souls 2. Holy cow, and there's Vendrick off to the side. All right, let's get to it. Majula. Oh, yes. Majula is the ultimate hub area. Majula is my all-time favorite hub area, and I sort of am a little bit sad that we only got 2 little screenshots of Majula. That's a little sad. Forest of the Fallen Giants. And this is something. I always love those 2 areas. I don't know why people don't like Dark Souls 2. I just don't get it. I just really don't. I just don't. I remember playing it through the first time, and it just blew me away about how good it was. And that's true of all the games, but Dark Souls 2, like, there was just something really special about it. And it's probably because I went to Dark Souls 2 before I did Dark Souls 1. But man, I really did love that game. Except for the gutter. Nobody liked the gutter. But the Iron Keep, that was fantastic. Sinner's Rise. The Shaded Woods. I don't know, there's just something like I really do think like some of the imagery and whatnot was reused, or at least brought over a little bit into Elden Ring from Dark Souls 2. I've heard some people say like Dark Souls 2 is like, Dark Souls 2 is sort of like the first game before Elden Ring. So Elden Ring is like Dark Souls 2. And I don't know, up for debate on that. Obviously the story does not continue, but the ideas and whatnot do somewhat continue on. Man, I remember when I got to the dragon over here, seeing the giant skeleton sort of over the stairway. Man, that was a haunting imagery for that. Oh, and man, when you remember when you got to the dragon area over here, like the first time that you discovered it inside the game, this is a fantastic area in the game. I don't care if you hate Dark Souls 2 or not. That is one of the best locations inside the entire game. I love that. Memories of the Ancients. And look at just the detail of every one of these maps. You can go through all of this. Now we're getting into the DLC, Crown of the Sunken King. What a puzzle of a DLC. That was truly, like, I would say the most Zelda-like of any of the areas in Dark Souls 2. Old Iron King. This one was pretty tough. And fighting off the Old Iron King at the end, that is not a battle for the weak of heart. And oh my gosh. And you get into the frigid outskirts. The frigid outskirts is set my praise for Dark Souls 2, but the frigid outskirts may very well be the worst area in the entire game. That doesn't bring like back, thoughts of dread. I don't know what would. Trying to get your summons to come to you to track through the reindeers and the snow to get to the twins and cats at the end. My lord. And then we have all of the dialogue from Dark Souls 2. I'm interested. I'm not going to count the pages like right here in front of you, but I wonder which game had the most dialogue inside it. Like which one has the most people talking? There's Vendrick. I don't know. Like I just love the character of Vendrick. Dark Souls 2 just has all the games are sad, but has a certain sadness in Dark Souls 2 that is just unmatched, in my opinion, in the other games. We even got our cat character. Maybe that's why Dark Souls 2 is the best. It has the most cat action. All right, moving on into Dark Souls number 3. We got the Firekeeper off to the side. Don't want to skip a page. Cemetery of Ash. Oh, man, they really threw you right in. The graphics on Dark Souls 3 really did just blow me out of the water when I finally got to this game. And then also just seeing how Dark Souls 3 resumed some of the areas in Dark Souls 1, that really did heighten it up. And I know some people have complained how Dark Souls 3 is not its own game. It doesn't have its own lore, sort of like a fan service for the first game and for players of that. But man, it is a great game in every aspect. And if you're looking for just a awesome looking environment and very distinct environments, it's going to have some of the best inside the entire series. The Smoldering Lake. Man, I heard a theory the other day, and it was that Solaire is actually in the Smoldering Lake in Dark Souls 3, but he's that giant worm or whatever. I don't know if it's probably just a theory out there, but it was an interesting theory. I'm not sure if it's accurate or not. Oh man, this right here, this was such a beautiful, beautiful area inside the game. Profane Capital. And then we get to go back to Anor Londo. And oh man, when you see the blacksmith in Anor Londo, heartbreaking. The Lothric Castle. That dragon scene was so much fun. That was so cool. And you get to the twins in here. The Grand Archives. I think if there's one game series I could just play almost endlessly, it would be the Soul series. Archdragon Peak. I sort of have the same memories of that as Dragon Area. I just love the dragons in these games as a whole. We got another painted world over here. Just look at that imagery. Man, I think you could fill an entire room of just paintings from Dark Souls, and you would have complete satisfaction. The Ringed City. That was a fantastic DLC. I'll give it to them. The Lothric Dialogues. All right, once again, we're going to wonder which game had the most. And like I said, if you want to pause and zoom in on any of these, Father Arendelle, that was a tough boss battle. That was a very tough boss battle. And not really because of him, because there's the sister who was in there with him. The Nestling Crow. I heard somebody mention the other day in one of the videos I was watching, and I watched so many creators talk about Dark Souls, so forgive me for not remembering which creator it was. But he was saying it actually wasn't a crow. It was like a hawk or something in the first game. It wasn't a crow, he said, though, and that was interesting. He said, like, the crow brought you over there, but the one in the actual nest was not the crow. All right, the equipment and items. So we are now moving into all of the items inside the game. All right, so we're going to start off with the daggers, and I don't know, is this just simply all the games sort of stuck together, or are they divided up? Oh, I see. It's telling you like which number it is, if it's in the DLC. Wow, that's really cool. I like that they've actually combined them. I'd rather them do it this way than they would divide them by game and just simply divide them by class and tell you which game they're in. That's a really cool way to go about it. Moving on into the curved great swords, the katanas. You know, that is one aspect of the Souls games that I don't explore as much as I should. I find a weapon I like, upgrade it all the way, and like, if I like the way it looks, I just stick with it. And so there are so many weapons, and that goes all the way into like Elden Ring. If there's a weapon that I like, I stick with that weapon. Man, the Reapers have some awesome design in these games. Like I said, guys, if you want to slow any of this down to really zoom in on any of the pages, it should all be captured at 4K quality. And so you should be able to zoom in and see any details that you would like. Boy, I do love it when I get a nice bow inside the game. I do love picking those enemies off. Now we're getting to the Pyromancer Flames. I do love a good pyromancy run. Chimes. Good faith build. All different types of arrows, bolts, miscellaneous equipment, binoculars. I mean, I have no complaint on it, but like how often people actually use binoculars in the game? I think it's pretty darn rare. The Skull Lantern. That's interesting that the Skull Lantern never appeared in any of the other games and was replaced by the torch. And wait a second. Hang on, where's the torch from Dark Souls 2? There should be a torch for Dark Souls 2, because you do have a torch that you can get at the bonfire. Maybe it didn't count as an equipment weapon, but it seems to me they're missing the torch from Dark Souls 2. I could be wrong, but I don't know. We got all the different shields. It's hard to decide like which shield you want to use if you're not going about it for just pure, stats-wise. There's so many cool designs. And we all know out there, like once you get to a certain level of proficiency in these Souls games, you do cease to pick your shield and now in your armor based upon stats, and you do definitely go based upon style. You pick out what you want to look like in the game, and that's what you rock for, because your skill level gets to a point where you're going to be good at the game regardless, and so you just simply want to look good as you're journeying through the game. And so this breaks down the entire sets of every armor and every helmet, gloves, boots, everything inside the game. Holy cow. And I rarely pick out like an entire outfit to go with the same one like the entire game. I almost always mixed up a little bit, have a helmet from this armor set, a hat from another armored set. Well, that's not true. You can't have a hat and a helmet. I generally go for a hat. I always like to have myself a floppy little cowboy hat, what it looks like. I generally like a little cape. I like to look like an outlaw inside these games. And so whatever's going to give me that best look, I mix my armor sets up to get that particular look. Some of the stuff, I swear, I have never even seen inside the game, which just gives you more reason to journey through the game all over again. The Ringed Knight set, that is sweet looking. I said big hat earlier. I don't know if I need a hat quite that big inside the game. The Smelter Demon set. Now that's a cool looking outfit there. Look at that. The set of the sun. I did not realize the differences in game 1 and game 2. Or in game 3, I mean. I thought it would be pretty much the same, but it's not even remotely close. Oh my gosh. If you really want to get your experience up, get the max number of souls and whatnot, you got to go of your little mimic head. I wonder if there's anybody out there who's collected everything in every one of these games, outside of the, obviously, people who wrote the book. Items and accessories. So this sort of breaks down every item that you can have in the game, and once again tells you exactly which game is going to be in. And it's good they break it up, different pictures here and there as well. Here are all the different souls. This is what I was expecting earlier when it said the soul section. This is the breakdown of every soul that you can get inside the game. And so I guess it's a better placement here under items, but they could have put it under souls as well. Offensive items. So these are ones that are going to help you strengthen your weapons, or just simply be items you can throw. Miscellaneous items. You don't ever realize how many items are in the game. And they have all of the dialogue for every one of them as well. My goodness. How to upgrade your items. It also tells you where to find all of these items. I tell you, like, if you didn't want to purchase or didn't want to go online and look at any sort of guides between this and the actual guides, like, you can find everything you could ever want in these games. Just looking at this makes me value those lore channels like all the more. Oh, the gestures. Now, the gestures are something I never really focus on a whole lot in the game. I don't do a whole lot of PvP a whole lot, and so gestures, it's usually when you meet somebody in the game. I don't do a whole lot of those. The rings, man, I've never collected all of the rings in Dark Souls 3 just simply because you have to go through it like multiple times, and there's some rings that are like tied to certain covenants, and my gosh, like to collect all the rings in the game is literally unreal. Everybody's favorite ring, the silver cat ring. All right, now we're getting into the spells. Now, if you watch my channel much, you know I love my spells in the game, especially when it gets to like poison spells or my mist spells. All of those. Anytime I can, weaken the enemy while not being directly around the enemy, I'm going to do it. I never really thought about it. Is that the cover for Dark Souls 1? Right there, Unleashed Magic. You know what I'm talking about, like on the PS3 version of the game? It looks really similar to that, if it's not. Now we got our miracles coming in here for our faith builds. Oh man, we're getting into the Sunlight Covenant now. Some of the most powerful spells, the hexes. Now that was only in Dark Souls 2, but you could do a pure hex build or just have any hex spells. All right, now we're into a section that everyone is going to love and adore. The enemies and the bosses in the game. Now, they do divide this one by the game itself. So these are all the enemies in Dark Souls 1 first. They break down all of the enemies that you're going to see, and then the bosses that you're going to encounter as well. And man, Baby Skeleton is pretty terrifying looking when you see him just by himself there. And the Batwing Demon, these are not in order that you see them in the game, because you don't see the Batwing Demon until you go to or captured to be traveled or taken to an Orlando. So I don't think these are in the order unless I'm mistaken there. Yes, this is from the DLC, so this is certainly not in order. What are they in? Oh, duh. I should just look at the letters. They're in alphabetical order, guys, which makes perfect sense. Look at this rockworm. I forgot about that fella. Ceaseless Discharge. Has anyone ever fought him regularly, or does everybody just do the little cheese method where it sort of flops down? So man, that person there, I remember in Dark Souls 2, I accidentally killed her off. I didn't even get to use any of the special boss spells or false items because I killed her off. I was with a buddy of mine. He was playing online with me at the time, and we both went into the room. I accidentally killed her off. He did not, and I regretted it for the entire rest of our playthrough. That was the very first time we went through the game together, and I was sorely, sorely disappointed. Because just imagine the feeling as you're journeying through and they get all the cool upgrades and you do not. It's a great Grey Wolf Sith. What a sad story. Artorias. I don't think there's anybody out there who plays these games that just doesn't adore Artorias, or is at least intrigued by him. Manus. Look how chill little mushroom parent is over here. Man, the mimic is more terrifying looking there than I realized. I have always thought the man serpents, they look a lot like some from He-Man or Masters of the Universe. Pinwheel. I always thought Pinwheel would have been a really ferocious boss, but he's always so easy in the game. The Stray Demon, Taurus Demon, all the demons over here. Look, a whole page full of them. Now we are getting into Dark Souls 2. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Is Dark Souls 2, is it Ava or Ava or Ava? I've mentioned that before in my cheese videos. I still don't know which one it is. Like, it still, puzzles me. I mean, just look at all these cool designs. I know some people say, like, Dark Souls 2 only had, like, just hordes of regular soldiers that you fought. Right here is proof in the pudding of all the variety. The Dark Lurker. My lord. The first time I went through the game, that boss took me forever. Literally forever to defeat. Man, the Executioner's Chariot. Now, that was a fun boss battle. The Guardian Dragon. That was a really easy boss, but a really cool looking boss in its own right. The Looking Glass Knight. That was a really good battle. I didn't realize that Pyromancer looked so much like the Dark Lurker. Any sort of meaning behind that? I always thought this was Medusa. I mean, come on. It looks just like, oh, the Lost Sinner. I do love the lore behind that. If it's true, that's the bed of chaos in this particular game. Got the Pagan Tree over here. The rats. Yeah, I mean, there are some crappy parts in Dark Souls 2. I forget about when you see the rats in that boss battle. The Scorpioness, when you get to her, you can actually just hop on her back and you can kill her super easy. A nice little cheese. The Slumbering Dragon. That's the one I was talking about earlier in the game, who's the poison fella. No, it's not. You know what? Forget it. I don't know my dragon as well as I thought it did in Dark Souls 2. Man, the giant spider, the Duke's Deer Freya, I think is how you pronounce it. That was a fantastic boss battle. One of the best in the game. The Rotten, what a weird little fellow that fellow was. The Undead Boar looked a lot like the imprisoned boar earlier. All right, moving into the third game. This one has like lore. I guess they all had lore items beside them. I just didn't realize it as I was going through. Everyone lists like what you get when you defeat that particular enemy. Like what you can get when you kill them. That is really darn cool. So you know, like the drops that you can get from them. It'd be cool if they actually had like the drop rates, but that might be one step too far, a little too much information. Because then at that point, like the guide would be maybe like 1,000 pages long. Who am I kidding? This guide's already like 1,000 pages long. We're on page 459 already. I don't know. Looking at all these, it's hard to determine like which game had the best enemies and bosses. You know, you gotta wonder, did Elden Ring pull some of those lobsters and crabs back out for that game? Some people have often speculated that Elden Ring used some unused assets from Dark Souls literally for their game. And I don't know. Man, the Pilgrim Butterfly, remember seeing those for the first time? That was haunting. Here's old Arendelle. Good Gale. What a tough boss battle. The Nameless King. You know, I made a cheese video for the Nameless King, and I used the Pestilent Mist on him. And it works really well for me, and I've got that to work excellent every time I battle against the Nameless King. Almost a guaranteed victory, but somebody mentioned on that video they weren't able to get it to work, and they changed their entire build over for it to work, and they couldn't get the mist to work, and they said it ruined the game. And so I felt really bad about that. And so, you know, I know the strategy works. I've done it many times. The game hasn't been patched, but I felt pretty bad that the guy was so upset. You know, I would hate to do that to people. I try to, you know, spread help in my videos, and that one, you know, I felt pretty bad for him. Then we have our index back here, sort of wrapping the the guide up. We'll go quickly through the index. I think I see those art prints in the very back here. I see something in the back. Credit and thanks. Here we go. And look right here, we indeed have our art prints. Let's go ahead and shut the book here and let's take a look as a final look. Oh, it's got the bonfire on the back. What a great way to finish the book off. Let's take a look at our individual art prints. All right, man, I'm already excited just looking at them. Talk about quality. He's handing you the sword. Oh my gosh. Man, you can't beat it. I told you I love Dark Souls 2. That's it. Hang on, I'm trying to get this one to turn right. There we go. These are all different which directions as you go. Those are some fantastic art prints. I probably would have also enjoyed like some scenery of like maybe Mula, my favorite area. But that's it, guys. If you've not picked it up, I strongly suggest it. It's $50 or $60 on Amazon, and I can promise you it will go out of stock in like 4 years. It'll be going for like $400. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel, and I highly recommend going out and getting every future press guide you can while you can, because they will quickly disappear. By all means, go out there, find a great game to play, simply have a great rest of the day.